So really excited to get into this. Like I said, the main priority and main focus for today is to give you as much information as possible regarding the call for applications. A few things to keep in mind before we get straight into it. Sorry, here we go, is who is who in the competition. So first things first, obviously, as you guys would have known and seen at this point, the competition is hosted, the challenge, is hosted and run by Desjardins. I'm assuming at this point, everyone knows who Desjardins is, so you guys are comfortable with that. As well, and part of the call for applications and entry into and for the winning prizes, we also have Startup in Residence, who is running this call for applications. And we have Sarah from the Startup in Residence team, who's going to be talking a little bit more about what the program is, specifically what it entails for you guys as part of the competition directly. And very quickly, as I mentioned, we're with Fintech Cadence. And maybe for those of you guys who have your cameras on, or maybe in the chat, you can just let me know, how many of you have heard of Fintech Cadence before? No? Okay, amazing. So it won't be repetitive for you guys, but very quickly, we're a nonprofit organization. We are based in Montreal, but we operate across Canada. And our main focus is to foster and develop the fintech ecosystem. And so what's the most relevant piece of information for you guys to know about our organization is that we help support early stage startups in whichever vertical in fintech that they're in. So covering today, so obviously a bit of introduction to the whole call for applications, why Desjardins is doing this, etc. We'll also be talking about the motivation behind that. I'm very excited that we'll have Julien Yvon with us here today, who I'll introduce shortly, as well as Sarah from the Startup in Residence program, who will in person be able to talk to you about the Startup in Residence program in and of itself. We'll be going over what is needed for the application. We'll also be talking about, once you guys submit your application, what does that look like for, what does the next few weeks look like for you? And then following the selection, what does that look like as well? So hopefully by the end of this 30 or so minute session or 45-minute session, if there's lots of questions, you guys will have all the information that you need regarding this process. And if, like I said, if there are any questions, we also have all of this information available on the website at your fingertips at any point as well. Perfect. So with that being said, I'm going to start us off. I'm very, very excited to actually welcome Julien Yvon with us here today. He is the Security Projects Director at Desjardins, and very excited to see Desjardins doing this kind of initiative. So I'm going to welcome you, Julien, and see if you're there.
I am here today because we have 45,000 employees in Desjardins. So why is Julien Yvon? But behind me, there is a couple of people that work for this contest, and we are very excited to put the cybersecurity and innovation in the same competition. So very nice to be here. So in Desjardins, I work in security for 7 years. I've implemented strategic programs and lead several projects in physical security, identity, and access management. And I've involved also in external and community projects. So I participate to the Cyber Eco initiative, the chair in prevention, cyber prevention with the University of Montreal. And I'm also the co-founder of a cybersecurity school, École Cybersecurity, in Quebec, to increase and to develop the talent in security. So for me, it's like a great way to be involved today in this contest and cybersecurity competition. I'm very excited to work with a startup across Canada. So for a question, why is it important for Desjardins to do this cybersecurity challenge? First, we know that with the COVID-19 and the context we are today, we use digital tools and solutions every day, and we need to protect Canadians as citizens, as company, for the security of data, security of system. And we know that the cyber threat is increasing, sophisticated of threat is greater day after day. So for us, it's to encourage and accelerate this digital transformation and also make some improvements to be less vulnerable and to be more resilient faced to this threat, cybersecurity threats.
Yeah, that's wonderful to hear, Julien, and very, very excited to see your background as well, because you'll be interacting with the teams too as they go through this process. So that's really exciting. As the process goes through, what are you hoping that Desjardins gets as a result of this?
I think we are waiting for ID that we never saw before, because we have many provider already in Desjardins. We work with the bigger provider in security in the world, but I think we need to think differently, and we think differently for citizen and companies. So we would like to get great ID and great startup for 3 specific areas. So the ransomware, the first one is ransomware. We know that it's the major threat right now for small and medium company. So we need more innovative solution to protect them. The second one is safe browsing, because we use digital tools, and we need to be safe when we're browsing on internet. And the last one is about fraud, sentimental fraud specifically. As we know, we know people that they know fraud because the fraudster just take advantage of the vulnerability, human vulnerability. So if we can get ID and solution and project and startup on these 3 topics, it will be very great, because we have the muscle and the financial support and advisor to support this company and to go further in the development.
Perfect. That's wonderful. Thank you very much, Julien. Just to kind of highlight to everybody the 3 areas that Julien mentioned, we'll be posting that on the chat. And if you guys are wondering as you're going through the application process, it's also available on the website for you. So Julien, I want to thank you very much. I also want to thank Desjardins as a whole for participating in creating this kind of conversation happening in the ecosystem. I know Fintech Cadence is really excited to be a part of this competition, because it's always great to work with Desjardins, but more importantly, as just general consumers, we also want to make sure that we're always protected, because I think we're, like you said, we are seeing that cybersecurity increase, and we're starting to feel it as consumers as well. So it's always wonderful to have.
I hope to see you in October 21, and thank you all, and have a nice information session.
Amazing. Thank you very, very much, Julien. I'm just going to check before we go into our next section if anyone has any questions for Julien specifically from the Desjardins perspective. Perfect. Okay, I think it's pretty straightforward. So then we're going to go into introducing the Startup in Residence program. So as I mentioned before, Startup in Residence is really the one in partnership with Desjardins that's initiating and working for these cybersecurity startups. I'm going to have Sarah come in as well and introduce the Startup in Residence program and explain a little bit about her as well. But I also see Eric Morin is here too, who is the director of Startup in Residence. So if you just want to wave as well, Eric, so everyone can see your face. Perfect. Wonderful. And Sarah, I'm going to go over to you just to give everyone here an understanding of what is Startup in Residence and why it's really exciting to be part of this competition.
Yeah. Hi. And if you see me.
Yeah.
Cool. So yeah, the Startup in Residence program, we wanted to present it a little bit, given that we are the prize for the 1st and 2nd place of this challenge. So basically what you can expect from the program, it's an 8-month program. And so it's maybe a little less crammed or intense than other programs can be sometimes. We still want you to be able to run your business, right? And the program is a mix of some very, very personalized coaching and of stuff that we think you should know regardless as a startup that is important to know. So we have a bunch of experts around us in different fields that we can call both internal and external to Desjardins to help you. And the other very important thing to note is, you know, yes, we use this partnership with Fintech Cadence to find the best startups in like different sectors, but we're also at the same time looking for potential investments. So given you know, significant progress or growth during the program, we might want to invest another $250,000 on top of the grant that you're going to be winning if you get the first spot or the second one. So that is also, I think, super interesting. So yeah, I think these are the main points.
Amazing. And then maybe just to kind of wrap up there, what can the winning teams expect once they get accepted into the Startup Residence program?
They can mainly expect my face and Eric's. So if you have not spotted him in the room already. But basically, other than the money, we're going to start this this coaching program. So we do, diagnosis of your startup and get the best experts lined up for you guys to progress rapidly. So an acceleration program doesn't make you do anything that you wouldn't do at one point in your life. We just try to have you make it a lot faster. So yeah.
Yeah, that's perfect. Thank you very much, Sarah. Maybe I'll check if there's any quick questions for you. Perfect. I see Gigi as well. Thank you for posting. I've also shared the Startup in Residence link on the chat. So if you guys want to check out a little bit more information about that, please feel free to do that. Thank you so much, Sarah. I know it's going to be really exciting for the teams because in general, you guys are very much looking forward to seeing how you can support the startup ecosystem. And I think Startup in Residence program does that really well. We'll go over the prizes and everything in a little bit, but I appreciate you coming, both you and Eric as well, to open the floor for that. Perfect. So for all the rest of this, what I'd like to get into is what does the process actually look like? Why you guys should apply and what you're really going to get out of this. Although I hope it's pretty evident at this point, especially if you're here with us today in the info session, why this is a really exciting process and why we think it's really valuable for you guys to go through. So overall, the way you can look at it is about a 6-week intensive journey. Now, we say intensive, but just as Sarah highlighted, the idea is not that it's going to detract away from the work that you're doing. We know first and foremost, you are startups and your main priority is on operating your business, not in competing and spending too much time outside of the focus of operations and business and sales. But the process is intensive in that we're going to try and make sure you get as much network as possible, that you're able to interact with as many people from the sector, not only in Desjardins, but in the overall cybersecurity world here in Canada as well. So that's one key thing to keep in mind. The other thing is if you're past the first round, and I'll explain quickly what that is, we're going to try and make sure you have as much visibility as possible as well, not only through Desjardins and Startup in Residence, but as well Fintech Cadence's ecosystems. So if you are looking for that visibility as a startup, if you do want to get a bit more recognition, perhaps for network, perhaps for investment, capital, whatever it is that you're looking for, then we also try and do our best to make sure that you guys are getting that energy and people coming in and recognizing and then perhaps opening the doors for you guys for different partnerships across the scope. Now, we often split this into 2 phases. The first one is really us focusing on who are the startups addressing the challenge that was mentioned earlier and the one that Julien expanded on a little bit with those 3 points. We also have workshops and industry nights, and I want to highlight what those workshops and industry nights are in a little bit, but just keep in mind that's what that first phase looks like. And then we'll have our semifinals. From the semifinals, we will have 5 startups selected to go through the last part of the journey. And that they're really going to be focusing on preparing you for the huge demo day that we're going to be having. That's going to be really excited and it's going to be open to the public as well. So that's really where we're also going to try and provide a lot more visibility. In terms of commitment and what you guys can expect if you go through this journey is we're really looking for about 1 person from your team to attend the sessions and to attend all the meetings that we're having. I say all of them and you're going to see pretty quickly. It's pretty reasonable amount of meetings that we'll have across the duration of the 6 weeks. But if you're wondering if you have to be there, perhaps you're the CEO or if you have somebody else from your team, it really, as long as we have 1 representative, it's absolutely fine for us as well. Like we said, we know that you guys have other priorities. So we just want to make sure that somebody's there collecting the information, but it doesn't have to be the same person every single time. All right. So always exciting for us to be able to introduce the prizes. I think, like I said, most of you guys probably are already aware of this because you would have seen it on our website, but Desjardins Startup in Residence program very generously have provided these 3 prizes. So the first place prize is $25,000. The second place is $15,000 and the third place is $5,000. All these are cash prizes and they're non-dilutive cash prizes. So it's really important for us to also highlight that. For the first and second place prize as well, you will be granted admission into the Startup in Residence program. So this is the program that we talked about that's really exciting that Sarah and Eric mentioned. And I think it's really important for us to also highlight that throughout the process that you guys are going through this, there will be a form of due diligence in making sure that there's an alignment between you and the Startup in Residence program. But the first and second place prize, as I mentioned, gets admission into the program. And one of the most exciting things is that it also can lead to a potential investment of up to $250,000 from Desjardins. So that's something really exciting for us to see. And Desjardins has really been spearheading ensuring startups get an investment access, especially at the early stages. I'm going to pause here and see if there's any questions regarding the prizes or what I've mentioned so far. No? Pretty straightforward. So then let me just provide you with a little bit more context of the logistics. The applications are due on September 13th. The applications that I'm referring to are the ones that you can find on F6S. On the website, on Fintech Cadence's website, on the bottom, you'll see how to apply, but I'll show you that in a little bit as well. That application, which is asking general information around who you are, what's your company trying to do, et cetera, that is all due on September 13th, as mentioned. Then we get into the first phase, if you will, where we'll be doing, which will run from, September 16th until October 21st. On September 14th and 15th, that's where you'll be notified if you have made it past the first round. So just as an FYI there. And that's where we'll be having those sessions. Now, following that and following the finals, which are taking place on October 21st, and it will be open. Sorry, excuse me, I forgot to mention. The semifinals will be hosted on October 4th, and that will be not open to the public. It will be a private semifinals where you'll be pitching. But the finals of the 5 finalists that we select will be on October 21st, and that will be open to the public. And then again, following the selection of the first or the top 3 teams, they will be getting the prizes that we've mentioned. Now, I also want to highlight that Fintech Cadence is also offering for the 3rd place team entry into the Sandbox program that we have out of Fintech Cadence. And that's just a coaching and guiding program, a light touch program to support you guys as you develop. In more details, these are the kind of sessions. So if you're wondering, okay, well, how many sessions are there exactly? This is the breakdown for that. So once you get accepted on September 14th, you will be notified of that selection. We'll have an orientation on September 16th. So that's the first session you'll be expected to attend. Then we'll have 3 workshops. And those are the workshops that I've mentioned, taking place on the 21st, 23rd, and 28th, respectively. And the first one will be around how are you going to build your pitch for the semifinals and the finals, respectively. We'll also be having a tech session just to do a bit of what we call stress testing. And what I mean by that stress testing is we'll have industry experts come in and then just make sure that your tech stack is really robust and up to par, if you will. And then we'll also have an investment session where we'll have representatives from different VC partners come in as well and talk to you and just make sure you guys are thinking about investment in the correct way. So we really see these 3 workshops as value added for you. Again, we're trying to maximize your time. We're not trying to provide you guys with sessions that you guys don't necessarily need. And so those are the 3 key things we want to make sure you guys have as you go through the rest of the process. We will also be asking for a demo. So on September 24th, you'll be submitting a final demo of your product. And so then on the 4th of October, you'll also have your semifinal pitch that we mentioned. And all the judges who will be in the semifinals will have gotten a copy of your application that you're submitting, as your initial application, as well as your demo video that you've submitted. Now, if there are other supplementary materials you feel you'd like to add to that application to make sure it's as robust as possible, you will be able to submit it at the same time as your demo. Following the semifinals and the 5 teams selected, we will have a pitch practice session just to make sure you guys are comfortable. We'll do a couple of dry runs because, as we mentioned, the finals is going to be taking place in public. And so we just want to make sure you guys are ready for that. And then the judges will select the top 3 teams for the cybersecurity cohort that will be moving forward. Any questions up until this point? I know it's quite a lot of information, but I just want to make sure you guys are comfortable. Perfect. I see a question on the chat.
Yes.
So does the pitch have to be in French or in English? It can be in any language of your choice. Any language of your choice. We'll ensure that the judges are able to, we know that the judges will be able to handle both French and English. So that will be not a problem at all. Thank you, Patrick, for that question. And in fact, and fully transparent, even in the workshops that you go through in the industries sessions that you guys will be meeting different industry players, you can do that in French and or English as well. Any other questions? So with that, then we'll wrap up here. One key thing to remember is that the application deadline is on September 13th. Please use and abuse this within limits and make sure that you talk to us as much as possible so that if you have any questions, we're also able to answer them for you before you guys go through the application process. But I want to end off by saying this is a really, really exciting opportunity. And I really hope that you guys consider participating in it, not only for the visibility and all of that, but for the access to capital and getting the expertise and knowledge of Desjardins as well as the startup and residence team. So make sure you guys don't miss out on this opportunity. The application process is not that grueling. I promise you, we know what they can be. So there's pretty straightforward, and I'm sure you have all of that information ready and at your fingertips as well. And like I said, this will be recorded and uploaded on our website. So if you want to share it with your team, you'll be able to do so. And last but not least, most of the information that I mentioned verbally is already on our website for your reference as well. Perfect. So if there are no other questions, thank you guys so much for coming and joining us on another Zoom chat, and we'll be in touch and hopefully see your applications shortly.